Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I love David Letterman too. I assume you do. That's why you're here right now. I've watched these shows. I would tape them. I still have these VHS tapes. I still have the anniversary shows, which I duplicated the logo as best I could on the side of the VHS tape. And I would watch them over and over again. And these shows really, for me, were what I did in lieu of dating. This was my life as a kid. And some of these clips are just unbelievably funny. Now, this is a bit that one of my writers at my show pitched this bit a couple of weeks ago. And I said, we can't do that because Dave did this already. And of course, this was before one of these writers was born. There was a bit where they were going to come up with catchphrases, which have kind of gone away. There are no catchphrases on TV, but in the old days, there were a lot of them. You know, welcome back, Cotter. You know, it'd be up your nose with a rubber hose, or Fonzie would say, sit on it. And so on Letterman, they wanted to come up with some new catchphrases. And there were these two nerds. They said in a very monotone voice, simultaneously, they pelted us with rocks and garbage. And this is something that we would say a lot at school. And yet another one of the reasons why I never had any dates.
Our search for a brand new catchphrase. Candidate number one, please.
Oh, when will my head stop throbbing? Can anyone stop this throbbing?
Okay, that was... All right, that's catchphrase number one. When will my head stop throbbing? Can't anyone stop this throbbing? Now, here's our second catchphrase of the evening. This time it's a woman. See how you like it. Catchphrase number two.
A dozen pizzas? Oh, it's those damn kids.
Thank you very much. All right, catchphrase number two is a dozen pizzas. Oh, it's those damn kids. Now, catchphrase number three for your consideration. I believe we have a trio this time.
So, boys, how was school today?
They pelted us with rocks and garbage.
Okay.
In the old days of late night, they would do these great in-studio remotes that I know probably took the writers a month to put together. There were funny little props, and the audience was very quiet. You know, it wasn't like talk shows are now where everything's loud and everybody's like, yo, and, you know, with the music and all that stuff. And there was a segment called Camping with Barry White. And if you don't know who Barry White is, he was very big-voiced, husky voice, sexually, hey, baby. He'd probably never been camping in his life, but there's some great props in this thing. And just the sentence, camping with Barry White, is, you can't go wrong from there.
Now, next, suction the venom out of the wound. There you are. Now, after that, get Barry White to a doctor immediately.
Please.
Now, a lot of... you know, walkie-talkies can also be a lifesaver in an emergency, but their sound quality is often tinny and shrill. With almost no bass response, they might not transmit Barry's call for help. That's why this design has a powerful 5-inch woofer 5-inch woofer attached to it. Let's see how this works. Let me try. Hello, Barry, do you read me?
David, my leg. I think it's broken.
Okay, don't worry, Barry. Help is on the way. Well, there's...
One of the great recurring segments on Letterman was viewer mail. People would write letters, and these were real letters, and then there would be responses to those letters. And sometimes they were quick responses, and sometimes they were very elaborate responses. And there was a woman whose name was Colleen, young woman, who wrote a letter to Dave, and I think she asked him something like, what's the deal with your shoes? Because Dave would wear these Adidas instead of dress shoes, and Dave went to her house. She wasn't home, but he went in, her brother was home. He went into her bedroom and looked around, and then she didn't come home, so they went to her job at Sears. This woman, she wrote like one sentence, which is, what's the deal with the shoes? And the next thing you know, Dave is showing up at your Sears Roebuck in New Jersey or something.
Hi. Are you Colleen? Are you Colleen Boyle?
Yes.
Did you write this letter, Colleen? See, what's the deal with the sneakers? I don't think Merv or Bryant would host their shows wearing high tops. Concerned about your Colleen Boyle. Colleen, let's stop that. Come here a minute. Here, we have this little gift for you here. This is for you. This is for the yard. We were over at your house. It's a bug light. Now, just a minute here. Now, Colleen, what we wanted to... Well, we wanted to talk to you about this. It says right here, you're concerned about my image. Do me a favor, stop making that annoying noise. Come here. You have a lovely room. You have a nice room.
You didn't go in my room.
We were in your room. Ask me a question about your room.
You didn't go in like and see my...
Listen, this guy right here was sitting on your bed. Ooh. Change the sheets as soon as you can.
Okay, so this is an interview I've never seen. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm going to tell you why. There were certain guests that you knew enough about to know that magic was going to happen when Dave got a hold of them. It wasn't as friendly an environment talk show-wise back then. There were only two talk shows, really. It was Johnny and Dave, and so if the guests wanted to promote something, they just had to deal with it. It wasn't like now where we have to be nice to everybody or else they won't come back. Dave had Shirley MacLaine on the show, and this was a very big deal because Shirley MacLaine was nutty, you know, with the psychic stuff and all the stuff that Dave doesn't go for. And she was on the show, and I was very excited about it. And I waited up, as I usually do. I made the mistake of watching the show from bed, and I remember distinctly waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a sick feeling in my stomach. I was like, oh no, I missed it. So now, thanks to YouTube, I'll watch this too.
Are you really feeling
No,
all right?
I feel fine. It's just that it
You
took
really look terrible.
How many other lives have you had?
Who knows? I don't know.
Well,
However many you want. However
right.
many you want
Here,
to remember.
we have here 6. You've been a jester, is that true?
6 lives.
Well, that's what it says here. Past lives, right here.
Oh, well, you don't want to know what they say backstage. What was the question?
Past lives. Now, you were a jester?
Oh,
What is psychic acupuncture?
okay, sit back. I have to give you a little
Oh, is
lesson.
this going to be another medical procedure here? We have to have a nurse standing by for this as well?
They should have taken it out of your brains. Why are you so interested in this if you say you
Well,
don't?
it's because I know you're interested in it, and I thought perhaps it would be something you would like to chat about.
But I've already said that I don't think we can get into it, and you keep harping on it. Maybe Cher was right. Maybe you are an ass.
Oh, maybe a little more Olympic boxing.
Now, why did you say that?
I thought that was a great remark.
Oh, what? Calling me an ass? You thought that was a great remark? The only thing, as far as past lives go, I vaguely have a feeling that at one point I delivered a pizza to the Eisenhowers. Other than that,
Chris Elliott is one of probably 5 or 6 people who makes me laugh just when I see him. His motions, his fake show business affectations, it's the way he carries himself is so amusing. He did so many great characters on the show. They were all kind of the same. He did Marlon Brando, which was this bizarre imitation of Marlon Brando that really didn't sound anything like Marlon Brando.
May I be so bold to interrupt your little kitchen pantry utensil hour and say that I was watching, by the way, in the green room. And just to say, you know, the green room, ladies and gentlemen, is not actually green. In fact, it's painted white as my big...
But he also did a couple of these characters, and one of them was the guy under the seats. This is a guy who lived under the seats in the show, and he would come up from under the seats and eventually start threatening Dave. There was always like a subtext of anger in almost all of Chris's shows directed at Dave. When they do it, which I don't know, maybe they do it like once every couple weeks, it would be a big topic in high school the next morning.
Also a visit from Kenny the Gardener, and we'll be answering our weekly batch of viewer mail. That'll be tomorrow night, and we're right in the middle of an international night here. And coming up, we have the Robin Williams of Japan and the Rich Little of Russia, Gregory Bodo.
Excuse me, my English is very bad. Do you know when this fog will stop?
No, I'm not sure. We don't know anything about the fog. Sorry.
Oh, this is very bad, very bad. Я знаю такие слова, которые на центр помогают.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, that was episode number 8 of our running character, The Guy Under the Seat, starring our own Chris Elliott. Chris, oh, there he is right now. Come on up, Chris, and take a bow. Chris, that was terrific. Well, that was episode number 8, The Guy Under the Seat. So what did you call this one?
This was called the Russian sub-crisis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. It's sort of kind of an international guy under the seats.
Yeah, kind of, Dave.
Yeah. Now, Chris, for the folks who may not be familiar with the character, the guy under the seats, why don't you briefly explain what the joke is here?
He's a guy who lives under the seats here, and every once in a while he comes up and he interrupts the show.
Yeah. Now, Chris, I noticed in this particular episode you were doing kind of a I guess a Russian accent or something. I don't know. To me, it almost sounded like it was Spanish.
Yeah, that's funny, Dave. Is there a problem with the accent?
No. It was no problem at all. I just thought, with a Russian accent, maybe it'd be a little more guttural sounding. That's all. A little more guttural.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. You're a master of dialects, aren't you?
Now, Chris, I was only asking.
Always so quick to criticize, aren't we?
No, I wasn't criticizing. I was.
You know something, mister? One of these days, I'm going to have you dancing around like an organ grinder's monkey. But until that wonderful and glorious day, I'll be right here, watching you, making your life a living hell.
I'm watching you, Dave. I see you.
I grew up in Las Vegas. When Letterman announced that he was bringing the show to Vegas, I was watching live, and I wrote at least a dozen letters to the show, because you'd write in for tickets. You could only submit one set of ticket requests per household. So I wrote in for tickets from my friend Cleto across the street, my friend Jimmy, my grandfather, everybody I knew, everyone whose address I knew, I put on a ticket request. And in the morning, I mailed them. I felt I would get a jump on this. And I told everyone whose name was on the envelope that if you get these tickets, you have to take me as your +1. So I went to all the shows that week. I even went and stood outside the hotel. We'd seen Dave's, we were told was Dave's rental car. And it was parked in the alley and the door was open, and we waited hours to see Dave get in that rental car. And guess what? Dave never got in that rental car. I actually crank called Chris Elliott's hotel room and told him, I pretended to be another one of the writers. And I said, hey, Chris, what are you guys doing tonight? And he's like, oh, we're going to the movies. And he told me what movie he was going to. And then we went to the movie theater and watched Chris Elliott walk into a movie theater. So I was a very sick boy, really, really troubled. But these Vegas shows I felt like Dave had come to my house almost. It was as close as I could get to that. And in fact, one of the local radio stations in town, to welcome the show to Vegas, put up a big billboard, and it was a Nevada license plate. It said L8NITE. That was my actual license plate on my car. Dave in Vegas was one of the top weeks of my whole life.
All right, this must be the happy couple. Hi, congratulations. Nice to see you. What's your name?
Laura.
Laurie, congratulations. And you, sir, are? Charles. Charles, and everything go all right in there?
Everything went fine.
So now what are you going to do?
We're going to go have our reception at the International House of Pancakes.
No, are you really?
Yes. He knows the owner.
You're having your reception at the International House of Pancakes?
Yes.
And then gambling after that?
Gambling after that.
Yeah.
Party down tonight.
Now, if I came along, would you buy me pancakes?
Sure.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, good luck, kids.
Thank you.
All my best. They're having their reception at the International House of Pancakes.
Well, to each their own, huh?
Yeah. What is this exactly? Whoop. Get out of here.
When GE bought NBC, this was a big deal. Dave decided that he was going to go over to the GE building. GE was this big corporation. They sold light bulbs. They weren't really a television, a media empire. And Dave went over, and he had to know he wasn't going to be welcome. He went over with a gift basket of some kind to introduce himself to his new overlords. And there was a very thuggish but professional security guard, the kind you only see in New York, who was not letting them in or up. It didn't matter what network Dave was on. It didn't matter who it was. And this guy really made the opposite of a great first impression.
Hi, how are you? I'm Dave Letterman. Nice to meet you. What is your name?
I'm going to ask you to turn the cameras off, please.
Okay, we just wanted to drop off this basket of fruit.
Okay. Would you cut the cameras, please?
It's a gesture of goodwill.
Will you cut the cameras, please? You have to talk to the director right over there, Mr. Gurney.
Just, director, a gesture of goodwill. We're all working together now. We're all fellow employees. Now, as you watch that, maybe you didn't realize that we got to see a glimpse of the official General Electric handshake. Hal, can we take a look at what the corporate handshake looks like? You can see it now. The security gentleman is about to shake. There you go. Okay. Now let's take a look at the. Here it is in slow motion now, the General Electric corporate handshake. Get a good look at it because, no. Okay, now, there's one more. Now, we thought perhaps that was an isolated episode, but later the gentleman was introducing himself to our director, Mr. Hal Gertner. Hal, show him that, and we'll see if we can't isolate the corporate handshake again from the folks at GE. Comes over. There's Hal. Nope. All right, let's take a look. Take a look at that one now, again in slow motion. Here it is, the last time you'll see it on the show. The official General Electric corporate handshake. I don't think so. Okay.
You'll probably never meet anyone who was more genuinely into the show than I was. I mean, I had themed parties on every Friday night that there would be a show. I had a Bermuda party. Bermuda. Yeah. I mean, I never missed the show. I think the only one I missed was when I fell asleep with Shirley MacLaine. Wow. I was too confident. I was cocky. I got into bed. I was like, I'm ready for this. And then I was out.